Friends, now in part 2, we proceed ahead with the teaching of military law. I would first complete the remaining 2 aspects falling under the pedagogy. We had seen the lectures, we had seen about the training films, role play and dedicated cases. There are 2 other ways in which the teaching can be transferred from the faculty to the students, and one of them is a lecturate. It would be advantageous for the students to be assigned topics and given some time, say a week or a fortnight, where they prepare to face and address the class on the topic which has been assigned to them. So this lecturates, if these are skillfully and in an imaginative manner planned, they can bring useful results by way of injecting confidence amongst the students, and apart from making clear the notion of the topic or the law connected therewith. Further, of a similar type is the exercise relating to project assignments. There can be projects which can be assigned to a student who can do it individually, or perhaps 2 students put together and they are given. So these projects are indicated, distributed to the students, and they prepare for it, they go and search, they make use of the library, and apart from increasing and improving their capability and capacity for legal writing, this brings in familiarity and a better understanding of the subjects. Now, how should the subject be decided? This falls under essential components of the syllabus, and this should start with the introduction to military law, then the Constitution of India. In the Constitution, where is the place for military law, and what is military law? That is one aspect, or that is one module of the course on military law. The next module can relate to and pertain to the induction, coming into entry in the service, both as a sepoy or in the officer rank, and also as to what are the service conditions. Now, service conditions under the Army Act provisions are certain privileges which have been accorded by the statute or under the Constitution to a soldier, to a military person. Just to illustrate, say privilege of a reservist, or a person, immunity of a person from arrest for debt. Now, these come under the heading of service conditions, but they are actually the privileges of military persons. So they need to be included in module 2. Then there are also actual service conditions as to the aspects relating to promotion examinations, medical examination, actual promotion, confirmation, retirement, resignation. These also fall under service conditions and would therefore be part of module 2. The next module can relate to what are the military and civil offenses which give rise to framing of a charge in case of an infraction or disobedience, and leading to a court-martial or disciplinary action. So what are the offenses? How should investigation of charge take place? And what are the pre-trial formalities? Now, pre-trial formalities would consist of a court of inquiry or compliance of Army Rule 22. This would need to be explained, which is carried out by the commanding officer and which gives the first opportunity for an accused to show that he is innocent, that the charge should not be proceeded against him. Then summary of evidence is recorded. Then accused is allowed time to prepare his defense, the actual court-martial, and then revision if it has to take place, and finally the promulgation. So this pre-trial procedure, which extends till the commencement of court-martial, needs to be explained, followed by in module 5 about summary trial and summary procedure. Now summary trial and summary procedure are abridged forms of trial, shortened trial, where you do not go through the rigmarole and the lengthy process of a court-martial. So they need to be explained, followed by 4 different types of court-martial which are there in the army: a summary court-martial, a district court-martial, summary general court-martial, and a general court-martial. So these 4 different types of court-martials, what are the differences between them, who can convene them, the number of members, what is the warrant used to for convening, this all can be explained together with the procedures distinct to these 4 types of court-martial, and more importantly in each of them as to what are the rights available to an accused to prepare his defense. Because military law provides for very elaborate steps for an accused with regard to preparation of his defense, and this would need to be explained. And lastly, what are the pleas that can be raised by an accused and leading to process of confirmation in the end. The next module can pertain to human rights and law of armed conflict. Now the soldiers are also the citizens of the country. They have human rights just like anybody else, and where these soldiers are operating in a disturbed area or in aid to civil authorities, there are certain human rights which are of those persons who may come to suffer some disadvantage or violence at the hands of the military. So the human rights with regard to them, and in actual conflict situation it is international humanitarian law. So the basic provisions of international humanitarian law, IHL, which is also known as law of armed conflict, can be explained in that module, which is module number 6. The subsequent module, which is number 7, may pertain to the JAG department, Judge Advocate General's department per se, as to what is this department, what is its role, where is it based, what is the strength, what are the duties of the personnel, and how they are inducted, how can one enter and join Judge Advocate General's department, training, etc. This all module can be in relation to these aspects. And the last module can relate to assignments and projects, about which I have already spoken earlier. Well, these projects may not be very lengthy, say anything around 4,000 words should suffice, and it can be typed or handwritten depending on the policy of that law college. At this stage, I would also like to explain that there are about 37 lectures relating to a series of military law that is already available on YouTube. So in case the students who are going to be teachers of military law, they would like to familiarize and go into greater detail, then on YouTube these 37 videos which are available and have been provided by the Lex Consilium Foundation can be seen. With this, gentlemen and ladies, I have tried to explain to you in basic canvas pertaining to teaching of military law. I would emphasize that this should not be merely explaining the bare act provisions, if suitable illustrations and examples are given, making use of the teaching pedagogy that I had explained, and use of role play together with films, then it would be able to generate adequate and desired interest amongst the law students, and can go to very profitably prepare a fresh crop of law students who would be able to discharge different duties under military law domain. Another aspect that I would like to highlight and suggest is that in view of absence of conscription and permanent military service, one may find that the class nurtures and carries certain doubts. The students may be shy in asking, may be hesitate to seek clarification. Therefore, it would be profitable for the faculty to constantly at regular stages seek confirmation, and that confirmation can come about by on the spot surprise sort of questions, and these questions would indicate whether what has been taught earlier has been grasped by the students. And wherever there exists or there emerges a need for clarification or further explanation, this should be done by the faculty, and it would be seen that adoption of this approach would finally result in a better understanding on the part of the students. That's one. Secondly, the students can be advised. Now, there are certain movies which have been produced in Bollywood, in Hindi cinema, as well as by Hollywood Western films, relating to the actual process of court-martial. Now, if the name of these movies, the title, etc., are suggested to the students, those who are interested may gain useful knowledge from those films. Thirdly, the students can be referred to the important court-martials that have taken place. For example, there was a trial of Bahadur Shah Zafar after 1857 War of Independence, or after the Second World War, towards the end, there were INA trials that took place in Red Fort of Shah Nawaz Khan and others, Dhillon and Sehgal. These are trials where the defense was undertaken by Tej Bahadur Sapru, Bhulabai Desai, and even Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. Therefore, the students can be apprised about INA trials. Now, therefore, this 1857 Bahadur Shah Zafar, Mangal Pandey trials, who started the mutiny, as the word was term was used by the British, and the INA trials, these can be explained, and they would be liked by the students. They would be interested in watching these movies and the later movies which have come in Hindi and as well as in the military. And lastly, I would emphasize that these role play and assignments and training exercises would be very useful in creating interest amongst the students. And lastly, those amongst the students who want to carry out further studies, they may be told firstly different aspects or the topics for which higher studies can be attempted, and these may relate to law of armed conflict. There are different courses and LLM programs on international humanitarian law in different universities, in different jurisdictions. There are issues relating to procurement of weapons, armament. There is a distinct body of law relating to space law. Aviation and space law, the students should be told about them. Likewise about maritime law and the law of the sea. Now these branches, apart from the ethics and law enforcement, they can be informed to the students with little knowledge about them. So therefore, those who want to carry out further studies in the subjects of military law, they can be told about them. They should also be apprised about different think tanks which offer opportunity for career in military law. These major think tanks dealing with security or the international issues, they have significant and adequate slots for job opportunities. The students must be told about them, and therefore what I am trying to highlight is that the opportunities which are there for the students who have an interest in military law would result in greater interest amongst the students for this branch of law. That brings me to an end of this lecture. Thank you very much.